Today I'm taking you back to 1971 and the Bangladesh War of Independence from Pakistan. I've been speaking to a Pakistani soldier, Lieutenant Shujat Latif, who in September of that year was posted to the town of Jassore in what was then called East Pakistan.
The day we received the posting orders, most of all the young officers, they were feeling very happy that we were going to take part in an operation. I was very excited. Nobody had any idea as to what will happen. The situation was not good in East Pakistan. The Mukti Banis, they had taken up the arms.
Mukti Bahini were the Bengali nationalists fighting a guerrilla war against Pakistan. When British rule had ended in 1947, what is now known as Bangladesh had been part of a greater Pakistani state. But now that state was falling apart. When Shujaat arrived in Jassore, his troops immediately found themselves in danger.
We were not safe from any direction, from any side. The vehicle, military vehicle, which was carrying the Jawans.
The Jawans means the soldiers.
The soldiers, of course, the soldiers. It ran over the mine and blew off, with the result that 5 casualties suffered.
The Pakistani soldiers were housed in cantonments in Jassore. They would then be sent to the front to fight the nationalists.
We did not go out of cantonment at all. We could not. It was so unsecured that you can't imagine. Then we moved straight to the main position, the fighting position.
Lieutenant Shujaat and his unit had many close encounters with the rebels. But the situation got much worse after the 3rd of December 1971, when India formally entered the war to support the Mukti Bahini rebels.
The government of India has formally recognized the government of Bangladesh. This was announced by India's Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, in the Indian Parliament earlier today. Indian MPs greeted her statement with cheers and shouts of Jai Bangladesh, long live Bangladesh. Indian recognition of the Bangladesh government comes at a time when Delhi seems confident that Indian troops will shortly control the greater part of East Pakistan.
On December the 16th, Pakistan's military surrendered to the Indian army in Dhaka. Since the communication network had collapsed, Lieutenant Shujaat and his troops kept fighting till the next day.
We were not expecting the surrender to take place, not at all. We were absolutely out of communication with the entire world. We had no radio, no newspaper to read. We didn't know, absolutely didn't know, till General Dalbir Singh, the opposing general, he announced that the surrender has already taken place in Dhaka. Why don't you surrender? In spite of that, we kept on fighting and our brigade surrendered a day later.
But at some stage you came to know about it. Then what went through your mind?
Utterly disappointed. It is beyond my description. Not only me and my colleagues as well. We felt extremely sorry, extremely bad. But we couldn't do anything else. There was no other solution. We had pooped off our artillery ammunition. We had nothing. 1 day's ammunition for small arms. That was rifle and machine guns. How could we fight with the tanks supported by heavy artillery fire?
The Indian Army is at the moment busy staging yet another surrender ceremony.
A surrender ceremony was held in Jassore too, where Shujaat and his unit laid down their arms in front of the Indian general.
The general, he sat on a sort of platform in front of us. He started asking, why did you surrender? Why did you surrender? When he came to me, I said, sir, I cannot answer you at this moment. He said, you give me an answer and I'll put a bullet through your neck.
But instead of being shot, they were taken captive as prisoners of war.
In a vast convoy of 250 commandeered lorries, many still gaily decorated for civilian use, Yahya Khan's beaten soldiers begin leaving Bangladesh. Russian-built tanks of the Indian Army headed the convoy on its journey to hastily built prisoner-of-war camps inside India.
After a 30-hour journey by train through the heart of India, Shujat Latif and thousands of other Pakistani soldiers arrived in Agra, a city in the northwest of the country.
They announced that we were going straight to Pakistan. We have a stopover at Agra. Then they will take us straight to Pakistan. We said, all right. So we were happy also. But the night we reached Agra, the way we were humiliated, the way we were received, we said they had different plans. They took us straight to the Agra jail. We have a long barrack. I remember it was cold, very cold night, and I had only one uniform which I was wearing. I remember we spent the first night walking in the barrack from one end to the other.
As the post-war peace negotiations dragged on, it became clear that the Pakistani prisoners would not be released immediately. But Shujat Latif says they were not mistreated.
They did not misbehave or manhandled anyone except for those who mattered, from whom they could get some information, who were placed at important posts in East Pakistan. We knew that they were not going to keep us for an indefinite period. We knew that. Sooner or later, they had to release us.
But Shujat Latif and some of his colleagues were not prepared to wait, so they planned to escape from Agra jail. But the Indian authorities found out about their plans and decided to move them to another jail in the western city of Ranchi. On the way to Ranchi, the prisoners made another attempt by cutting the bars on the window of their train carriage.
An officer, a colleague of mine, had hidden a small saw, iron saw. So we started cutting one bar of the window. We started, I think, at 9 in the evening and finished it probably by 3 early morning. I remember I took the swing away from the train and then let the grip go off. Thereafter, I do not know what happened. I fell head on.
Shujaat was discovered lying unconscious close to the railway track by the local police and transported to Ranchi jail, where he made his third unsuccessful escape attempt.
We made a tunnel in Ranchi, which we dug without any resources, 79 feet long. We had already reached across the boundary wall.
But why were you doing that?
It was my duty. By being in Indian captivity, it was my duty to make an attempt. I succeed or not, that's irrelevant.
In 1972, the Simla Treaty was signed between India and Pakistan, and they agreed to release the prisoners. But Bangladeshis wanted some of them to be tried for war crimes, which delayed the repatriation process for even longer. Shujaat finally made it home after almost 2.5 years.
I felt very happy that I was going back to my country. When I crossed over the border, I had thought that a disaster has taken place. Half of our country has gone, and we must have learnt many things from it. But when I saw the people unconcerned, as nothing had happened, I felt extremely sorry. We are so senseless.
All the Pakistani soldiers returned home in the end, and none of them were tried for war crimes in Bangladesh. Looking back, Shujaat now feels disillusioned by the war that divided Pakistan, but believes that as a soldier, he was just doing his job.
It did at times used to come. What are we fighting for? What is the purpose of our fight? But a soldier has to fight. This is his job. He's being paid for it. He doesn't have to think right or left. He has to fight.
Shujat Latif eventually rose to the rank of colonel in the Pakistani army. He's now retired and living in Lahore. He was speaking to me, Shamila Jaffri, for Witness.